Hello, everyone. Welcome and thank you for joining us today. And today's session is truly special. We are about to hear from a powerhouse of global career wisdom, someone who has navigated career transition from Russia to China and then Germany, and helped countless professionals to land their dream roles and step confidently into leadership. So, our today's guest. Evgenia is actually a certified coach with over 3,000 hours of coaching experience, a TV host, a speaker, and executive trainer. And thank you very much, Evgenia, to join this session. And really, I'm motivated to have you in this session. And I want to ask many questions, and it's very interesting your journey. And I just want to ask. From Russia to China to Germany, your journey is remarkable. What's one personal career lesson that truly shaped your mission as a career coach?
First of all, thanks for the invitation. I'm really excited to be here. And regarding your question, I think the one question, the one important thing which I've learned in these years is that you need to know where you're going and not to make decisions just because life happens to you. And in general, to the most of the people, career happens, right? That somebody asks them to join the company or they were laid off and then they need to do something just right now. But in this scenario, you don't own your career and you don't know what's going to be next. And even if we can't control everything which is going, but when we have a direction, it will help us to navigate the uncertainty, and it's kind of having a compass. So the main lesson, know what you want and go in that direction at least.
Nice, nice. That's nice. And what is the biggest myths about the German job market that international professionals still believe, and how can they overcome them?
Mm. I think it is important to understand that average job market is special. So if you target a specific country, then you need to understand what's going on in the country. But on the other hand, average job market is very similar if you understand how the job market works. It means that the first thing which we need to understand is that people hire the solutions of their problems, and in Germany as well. So the first thing you need to do if you want to enter a foreign market, and if we're speaking about Germany specifically, you need to make an analysis of what the market is, what the people are looking for, what kind of problems are there. And for that, there is nothing better as informal interviews you can run with people who already work in the industry you want to, probably alumni from your university, or just people whom you trust to reach out on LinkedIn, for example. And the questions you need to understand is like, what's going on, right? So what are the problems you're facing? What kind of challenges you're tackling in your current job? And then you need to understand how you personally can solve that problems. um, the importance of that is that people misunderstand that they try to sell themselves, right? We write CV about us, we write cover letters about us, we make our LinkedIn profile about us, and even speaking on interviews about us. But that's the biggest mistake, because all of this is not about us. It's about the company we want to enter. And it means that we need to understand what the company is doing. So a lot of the experiences we have are not relevant for the job we want to proceed. And especially, it is important when we enter foreign markets. Because, for example, if I'm telling you about my Russian experience, most probably for you, it doesn't say anything because you have no idea of the Russian market, right? If I would speak about Chinese experience, probably it would be more clear for you because you have that experience with the country. But if we speak about Germany, again, probably you won't understand what kind of challenges I'm facing if I'm not explaining that explicitly. And for that purpose, we need to say, okay, here's the problem, here's how I do to tackle it, and here's the result. And if you say that in this storyline, then obviously the people who are talking to you and interviewers reading your CV will understand how you can solve their problems. And in that moment, they will hire you because they don't care about your ethnicity, nationality, your name, but they care if you can solve their problems again, right? And this is the only thing, basically, the only thing you need to understand if you want to land a job in a new country.
Very nice. So just to solve the problems of the company, to have to focus on the company's problems. Okay, that's nice. And for someone who's feeling stuck and invisible in the job market, and what's one strategy they can use today to become one more visible to German employers or something like that?
I love your question because I think most of the people, again, they expect that if they work hard, this will be noticed, right? And we say, don't show off, don't bargain. Like it will always, they will always notice your good job. It's not true. You need to make sure that your results are visible. For example, yesterday I had a conversation with my coachee and we were discussing her visibility because she said she had a conversation, like the half yearly conversation on her progression, and her manager said that she achieved her goals. And my client was very disappointed because like I'm working like crazy, I'm doing the job of three people, and still it's achieved, and actually it's overachieved, obviously, right? And she was so disappointed, and we were discussing that in more details. And what stood out was that she never articulated how much work she did, right? She never explained that she is over and over pushed with the job, and she just takes new projects on because she can do it. And obviously when you do your job well, the expectation is do it further. You're doing a great job, make it. But our job is to make sure that my manager, my peers, the company, the outside market see what the impact I have. So for that, you need to speak about personal brand. I know the word is now misused a lot, but basically personal brand is your reputation, right? So what people say about you and not you in the room, and you can steer this speaking, right? It means that what actually you should do, you should think, okay, again, what challenges I tackle, what results do I have, and then show them. When you speak to your manager, if you're in the company, say, hey, here what my goals were, here what I did, here are the results. That the same you can do in the outside, and LinkedIn is a great platform for that. Speak about your work, like you had, again, from the example from my client yesterday. She ran a huge event with like enormous number of attendees. Speak about it, write a post like, I'm proud that we have run this workshop and there were so many people, and that was the difficult and that was the good thing what we did. Share your journey, like, here is the failure we faced, but that's what I did, and that's how we turned that to be a win in the end. And step by step you will build this visibility, because it is impossible to build a visibility within one day. But if you have your long-term strategy, your vision, again, where you want to go, and then you will know what kind of information people need to know about you, you will build that information. But you're not making it up, like because they want to know that, but you find that from your experiences and you show that. For example, today we have an interview, and I will definitely post it on my social media saying, hey, you know what? I was speaking to Habib. Here's what we discussed. So Habib is making, again, like his part of job. I will do my part of job, but we both will share, making us visible. And step by step, this will be bigger. Or, for example, if you are watching a video and you found something important, share that. But you don't need to say, hey, share it, nice to have, but share a piece of information what you find important or you don't agree with. You can say, here was a video from a career strategist from Germany, and she said, and I agree with her because, and then here's your experiences, and that's how you show your visibility. The other way around, you will say, that's all not interesting, she's wrong, but I believe this and that, and again you will put your visibility up. But and what you are going to do, you're going to use my visibility and Habib's visibility at the same time, because if you post us, most probably will react, right? And when we react, our audiences will see what we post there, and if we have a meaningful discussion, so it's not only, hey, you're so great, and it's not only, yeah, you're wrong, but it's really a meaningful discussion, that people who follow me, people who follow Habib, people who just comment on that, they will see. And in that moment they will say, okay, this person said something important, I want to look at his or her profile. And then they're looking at your profile, and probably they see something, again, what you have posted before, meaningful about your career journey, about your experiences, about what you know. And this is how your network will be exploding. And this is how you will land a new job offer in a different industry, in a different country, in a different company, because you will show the value, right? So it's all about value towards the goals the companies you want to work for has.
Very good, very good. And it's really a very important answer that endorsing someone ideas, and yeah, you can say they will react audience meaningful discussion with the other connections, and that's very wonderful, and we can explore very wonderful. So another thing, you talked about crafting a powerful career story. What are the most common mistakes people make when telling theirs?
Mm, let's start with people don't have a story. People just give facts. And this is a problem. There is a phenomenon called narrative, which is like I have my understanding of the words. For example, when I'm saying the word mom, you have your own story, right? You have your own experience with your mom. And it's very easy word, like everybody knows that. But then, for example, I'm saying, I'm going to call my mom. And then when the magic happens, probably you have really good relationship with your mom and you're saying, well, go for it, call it, right? So there's nothing behind. But what if your mom died? And then you say, well, I really envy you. Like, you have this opportunity. And once of a sudden, the conversation shifts. Oh, probably you hate your mom, right? You have really bad relationship with her. And you say, are you crazy to call her? It's like, what's wrong with it? And think about all the differences in these nuances in this conversation only for the word of mom, which is super easy. When we say something difficult, something conceptualized, for example, I'm a business development manager, or I'm a postdoc researcher, as you are, right? What does it mean? I don't know. I have my own story for these words, and you have yours. And everybody who's listening to ours now has his or her own story. So when I'm saying I'm a career strategist, what does it mean? What is that? And people have all the different narratives behind them. So my important task is to explain what I mean. That you, when you're listening to me, understand exactly what I mean and not what you potentially thought because of your experiences behind that. Probably you had bad experiences with career coaches and you think that all of them are just faking the news. Probably you had a very good experience with career coach who changed and transformed your life, so you say, well, that's the person to go to. What I want to show and to make sure that telling my story, I will give you exact facts that will help you to understand what I want you to understand, right? So the first question, when people say something about their careers, they just give facts having their story in mind but not explaining that to others. And that's what we need to rethink. And again, there's a very strategic question: what do you want to be seen as? Right? When I'm talking to you, so what should I know about you? If I'm your recruiter, if I'm your hiring manager, if I'm your colleague, if I'm just a person on LinkedIn, what should I know and why? And for example, you're saying, I want to land a new job. Say, if you want to land a new job, what kind of information all your targeted audiences, meaning, right, this recruiter, hiring manager, and so on, what should they need to know about you? Is it your educational background? Probably. But if you have like 20 years of experience, who cares, right? If you're looking for example, transition from academia to business, do I care about your research really? No, right? I care as your targeted audience about um, what kind of business value can you bring, right? So you need to speak about that. And when you know what story to be crafted, then you find the facts in your story to tell that further. And then you will give facts for me to make my own decisions in your favor.
Very good, very good. And one thing you mentioned, this transition from academia to business. Could you please explain what are the steps the person who is long academic career but want to shift in business? So, what steps he or she should follow? Can you please explain?
Yes. Let's first understand what the challenge is. Usually It's not a matter of it's not cut in stone, right? But it's a very common way that people from academia have problems to land a job in business because business is afraid, right? On the one hand, when you have your PhD and you have your postdoc experience, it means that you are very smart, right? You're super smart. We know that, but you have never worked on any kind of business problem. We also know that. So, on the one hand, you're kind of overqualified for the job, but on the other hand, at the same time, you're underqualified for the job. On top of it, people from academia usually want to earn a lot because they're so smart. But at the same time, they have no idea how to communicate to stakeholders, how to make business impact, and me as business probably don't want to pay that much because I'm not sure about the results. So there's the challenge, right? So now we know that. When you think about that, you know what your potential recruiter, your potential hiring manager will fear of what you can or cannot do. That's why we can think about our steps in the next phase. The steps would be to understand, okay, if this is the problem, they know I'm smart, but they're not sure I can deliver results. How can I prove I can deliver the results? And in that moment, we need to see at our experiences what we have done, because your scientific research is nothing different to the business research in the end of the day, because it's about solving a problem, right? So when you're talking to your stakeholders, yes, you don't have a CEO or you don't have a product manager as a stakeholder, but you have your stakeholders, right? Because you won a grant, because you have your team, because you have a senior researcher, and you need to understand the same thing. So you will need to explain and first find in your experiences what was business alike, what the environment was business alike. And then you also need to show the results. For many scientific postdoc researchers, results are papers, right? So what I have found here is the publication. For me in business, it doesn't really matter because we don't make the publications, but the publication itself is something when you have found something worth of being publicated, right? So show me this result. What could it be? Why is it important? And now we're talking not about the scientific importance of that, because most probably people don't understand what you were doing, right? They're not that smart as you are, but you need to understand why, like as you were talking to your like 5-year old, right, to explain what you were doing, try to explain in simple words. And when you manage to do that, you will be capable of changing your CV, because you will show the job description like bullet points, right? And you will show the results which can be translated into business terms. And the second step would be to reach out to business and again to talk to them, run some informal interviews, to understand what they're doing, what the problems are, and to reflect how you can solve that. Because most of the times you will understand that you just need to make a research and you have budget for that, so you don't need to explain people that you need to explain why this research is important. But for example, you will need to hire a team. Oh, probably you will need to find a laboratory where you are running your tests or whatever. So think about how your experiences again align to the problems you are going to solve in business. And in that conversations, you may potentially show um, your benefit for the position, and there is a huge opportunity that people will ask you if you're open for a conversation for a particular job, because they will see that you understand the things. If not, then if that's not happening, but you still have this network which you brought, you will reach out to them later and saying, hey, I know we have been discussing this and that, I've learned this and that, I believe I have that experiences because, right, 1 to 3, there is an open position, would you be open to make me a recommendation for that, right? So a referral. And again, if people believe that you are capable, they usually do the recommendation, the referral, and you will put into the formal process. So the challenge here again is not the step itself, but understanding how to transform your experiences into business language.
That's nice, nice. Yes, wonderful. And you have reinvented yourself in 3 different countries. What was the most unexpected challenge you faced, and how did you overcome it?
um, I started my career at Microsoft, and I was doing communications, and then I changed to energy sector, and I was responsible for business development in nuclear power, which was a completely huge challenge, but it was pretty fun. It happened. And then I moved to China, where I was responsible for business development in the PAC region for LEDs, which also was it was not a logical step in my career, but it actually happened pretty easily. But the challenge was when I moved to Germany and I couldn't find a job. And I thought that, my goodness, why is that? I had really great education with top universities in my CV, including German University for the exchange program, where I had a stipendium. I spoke 5 languages, including German fluently. Like, why on earth didn't I land the job? And I had great companies, right? I had Microsoft, NL, I had international experience, and still I couldn't land the job. And finally, I got into recruitment, and only now afterwards I realized that mistake was that I didn't have a story, because my career was so different. I couldn't say, I'm this person with so many years of experience in one field, because it was not the case. I was a person with many years of experience in different cases, in different countries and different markets. And for German labor market, it means that I can't put you in a very particular box. So it's difficult. So my job later was to understand how to explain that, how to make this puzzle happening. And for example, now when I work in career strategy, that's what I'm telling my clients. Because I have experiences in different industries, I speak your language. Because I have experience from IT world, from working for Microsoft, I know what it means to build a career in high tech. Right. And being in communications, my job was basically to explain difficult IT stuff to business or to consumers. And that's why I know how to translate this engineering IT language to business language. And that's why I can help you as a career strategist. Or the other way around, because I did this change from IT to energy sector, I know how to change industries from my personal experiences. And I know how to transform that experience to help you to show that. That's why I can be your career coach, right? So what I'm doing, I'm taking this pieces of puzzle together and trying to explain to people how that worked for them. And it's the same for you. If you're going to find a new job, you will need to explain why your previous experiences in different countries or in a different role can help them again solve their problems. And this is something which is not very clear from the beginning, and it's something which you need to take time to analyze and to invent that story, and then prove it. Because the most often mistake I see, people just say, well, I'm so cool, I have been working in all the industries, I will understand what you want from me as well. But people don't trust that. And most probably, if you think about that, you wouldn't trust it as well. Right. So we need to prove that we have the needed skills and needed approaches to work we are going to do.
Very good, very good. So it means you already mentioned this was my next question, how someone can turn non-linear career path into a compelling narrative, and I think so you answered that one. And what are the German employers really look for beyond the CV? What's the X factor you can mention that they look for that?
I believe it's productivity. I
Wow.
believe that if you're a foreigner and on the German job market, you cannot wait that people come to you with an offer, because most probably it won't happen. Even if legally any discrimination is prohibited, the bias exists, right? We probably don't know about it's unconscious bias for many people. But if I can't pronounce your name, as for example, you can't pronounce mine, right? There is already, I don't know if she knows what she's doing. Or probably I don't like women, or probably don't like men, or probably I think about whatever I think in my head. It's very rare logical, right? It's very rare that people even aware of that they have this prejudice, but they do. So if you just send your CV out, then you will land in this black hole of ATS and not standard CV way, and most probably will get rejection. So the thing is to go proactively to companies you want to work for, and to make the connections, build the network, and use that network. In Germany, there is this, like a term. It's called vitamin B, which is like networking, right? People have connections, and it's in a positive way, and that's what we need to build. Because if you're a foreigner, you don't have your network, but you can build it from scratch. And again, LinkedIn is a great source for that. Or if you don't want to use LinkedIn, and if you're already in the country, go for a conference, right? Go for your industry specific conference. Probably try to land a speaking gig over there that you will show your expertise. And if you show the expertise, and if people look at you not only as a piece of paper with some weird name that they can pronounce, and they don't know where you are from because they don't know where this country is, they will see you as a person. And this is a huge difference, because in recruitment, it is it is very straightforward to say, but it's true. When you have hundreds of CVs, they're just paper, right? We don't have this understanding, okay, this is a real person with his real life story. It's just a piece of paper, and a very fast decision if he is a match or not. But what we want to do is to turn that into a real person with real experiences, with real passion, with real attitude. And then all the biases are going away, because most of the times nobody thinks, oh, I won't hire you because you're a woman. Um, Most times this is unconscious. So if they see you and they see that you can bring the value, then everything which is potentially a problem will fade away. And here's an important thing: when we say it doesn't exist, it's kind of not understanding the challenge is there, right? It's like wishful thinking. But when we understand it exists, and I cannot change that, but I can work against that and to prove them wrong, then your actions would be different, because you know your value and you know how to articulate that.
Very good, very good. And also you work with clients from many industries. Are there any sectors in Germany that are more open to international talent than others right now?
I wouldn't say. I would say that I work mostly with international professionals. They work in various industries. Like obviously IT probably is the easiest one, because you have a lot of IT professionals worldwide, and there is a huge shortage of professionals in Germany. So obviously there's a very straightforward go-to. But I have people working in pharma, in energy sector, in construction, for example, which is super German. And again, if you have your value, if you can explain that there is no industry there would say, no, we don't want you. um, the challenge could potentially be language, because obviously in many IT companies the standard language is English, and for example in construction most probably it will be German, right? So you will need to speak German fluently. But still, in every industry there are companies who are open for international professionals, and the level of the language proficiency is not industry related mainly, but your role specifics, right? If you are, for example, a salesperson, obviously if you want to work on the DACH market, you need to speak German. But if you're, for example, an international sales professional, or if you work in sales operations, then German is not a must have any longer. The same with marketing. Obviously, if you work on the German market and you're a marketeer, German is your must have. But if you work, for example, for EMEA region, or if you work for a global team, then you don't need German. If you work in analytics, for example, for international market, then nobody cares for your German. So here you need to think again, what is my value? What is exactly I'm doing? How do I bring that on the table? And then bring that. And then you will also understand what kind of qualifications are needed. Is it language? Is it a degree? Is it some particular experience? And even if you don't have something, you can create it by your own. And again, Habib, that's what you are doing, right? So when you're making, for example, a podcast, that's something which you're doing proactively. It's not like your job when you had to do it. But when you do it proactively, then you can show that in many different ways. For example, you can make a social media manager, right? And you say, hey, I'm running this, and this is my LinkedIn profile, this is my YouTube, and I got to know how to work with people. Or it can be video production, because you know how to make the podcast, right? And when you make this extra project, you learn so many skills, and you can show them in so many different ways. It's like insane. So if you struggle with landing a job, most probably it's not because you are not qualified for the job, but because you can't show that. And sometimes in order to showcase something, we need to create an extra project, like a portfolio. It's like being a designer who doesn't have a portfolio, right? When we say, here what I have done. So you need to show what your capabilities are. If it's like write in the text, like write many texts, right? Show them, like post them on social media. Even if you're not super successful in that, who cares? I can still read your text and evaluate if I like it or not. If you're a photographer, again, make pictures, post them, show me this is what I can do, right? Explain me the story behind. And the same if you are in accountancy or if you're in controlling, show me how it works, give me cases. You don't need to be a blogger for that. So it's not that you need to post it every day and to build a big audience, but you need to showcase what your capabilities, what your skills are, and how they're applicable to my business.
Nice, that's nice. And what are the mistakes, including the cultural mistakes international makes during interviews, and how they can avoid them?
um that's a good question. um I think, again, the more you communicate to locals or the decision makers, the more you understand what people are looking for. And you need to understand what people expect. So I can't say that you need to mimic the local things, but definitely you need to understand why things happen. For example, the obvious example, Germans are very punctual, right? So you need to be this 5 minutes before and you cannot be late. But life still happens, right? People can be late. For example, I had now a lecture in an MBA school, and I was late for my own lecture, and it was really super uncomfortable. But I couldn't do anything. I didn't plan to be late, but it just with Deutsche Bahn things happen sometimes, and I was literally running to the event. And what I did, I spoke about it openly. I said, I'm really sorry it happens, but that's how we built our resilience, right? So that's the things that you need to do. um and again, Germans are very straightforward, right? There is no lot of small talk, for example. There's a very straightforward examples what could be asked for, so you need to be prepared for that. So you think of what people can look from you, and be not as you are because you will learn to be that, but be as you are in terms of personality, but open, right? So you see what can be different, what can you do different in terms of your language, in terms of your body language, in terms of how what you put on, just to be, again, not different and not mimicking the others, but to be aware where the potential biases are coming into the play. So it's kind of a gentle boundary between staying authentic and still respecting what others may potentially see in you as a person.
Nice, that's nice. And for someone already in Germany but feeling stuck in at mid level, what's the next smart move they should consider?
Mm, I believe there are differences why are you stuck. Sometimes it's like you don't have enough of experience to step over. Sometimes it is like in a particular company there is no opportunity for a career growth, because just the higher you go, the less opportunities there are. Or probably there is something which you don't have enough of visibility, right? So to make the right step. So first we need to diagnose what's actually going on and why is it happening. And the remedy would be different. Because if you don't have your visibility, then the answer is like build the right network and build your visibility. If you don't have enough of experience, take more projects that potentially will bring you the responsibility you need to have. And if there is no opportunity in your current company, probably you need to think about to look around what's on the market. So there is no one remedy that helps everybody the same, but the only magic pill that exists is to understand what's really going on and to really get an honest feedback. Because a lot of the times we potentially think of us something different than others think of us, in our conversation. So coaching or mentoring in that regards could be a good solution, because a professional can give you this feedback which you never get from outside if it's your friend or colleague or whatever, because people are afraid of giving feedback, right? They most probably won't tell you, hey, you're not qualified for the job. Or even if they say that, most probably will say, well, I am qualified, I can tell you that, right? So people don't really accept that feedback. But when you're working with your career coach, for example, then you can be maybe more or less assured that the feedback would be honest and won't be there to hurt you, right? So we can be very precise in saying, you need to do this and this to get the next step, or you have already, just let's repack your CV, right? It's, I think this is the value of a career coach, to show you how people see you from outside when they look at you just without any glasses or prejudice around.
That's good. That's good. And you mentioned about the right network for visibility. What does it mean, right network? Is there diversity in the network we have to avoid or something? What does it mean?
Yes, if you think about your network strategically, then you need to understand who need to know you for you to make the next step.
Okay.
If you want to go to another company, then obviously you need to have people around you in that company, right? Because other way they don't see you. If you want to grow in your company, you need to have your manager, skip manager, like plus two, whatever, to see what the value you're doing and what projects you're running. So again, when you have your goal, when you know where you're going, you will know whom to network. And network in that regards means building meaningful relationship that people will see why they need you, right? And we want to be a needed person. We want to be a person who can help solving problems, and being the right person for a particular situation. Um, a good example for that is that you need to think about like a formula. I'm a person who can help with, right? And then if you can continue this sentence, it will be completely different. And again, I can help with, when you think about who is your target audience, it will be different sentence. For example, when I'm saying I'm a career strategist, and if I'm working with you as a private client, then obviously I can help you with building your career further. But if you are, for example, a company and I want to be hired by a company, then I will say, and you're an HR department, I will say I'm a person who can help with building the career pathing for the organization that people will stay. Or I'm a person who can build talent development programs, right, and trainings for particular needs. And this sentence would be different based on whom I'm targeting, and again, what I want them to understand about me. So when you think about that, you think about three questions. Who is that audience I want to know about me? What do I want to them to know about me, and how would I present that, right? But the most important is the first question, because most of the times, again, we are talking about ourselves. And if I'm talking constantly, I'm a career strategist, like again, if you're an HR head, for example, you would never come to me because you don't care of career strategies, because you need career pathing. So if I want to be hired, I need to tweak that, and basically it will be the same job, more or less, but it will be different business focus, different outcome, and my conversation will be completely different. um And coming back, like, who is this person who is making a decision about my career promotion? It is rarely just a recruiter. It is rarely just an HR business partner. It is rarely just your direct manager. It's most of the time a combo and people who are staying above, right? Your skip manager, for example, who can see where to promote you. If you want to change a direction in a department, then you need to build network with that department, and not only with junior people, not only with your peers, but also with management of that department, because these are the people who are making decision about your candidacy. So again, when we build that network, it doesn't mean you're coming and saying, "Hey, please take me, I'm here." No, but you need to understand what the challenges they are tackling, what is that they are hoping to solve, what are their goals, and how you can help. Right? What kind of projects you need to take part in to help that people achieve their goals. And when they understand that you are useful, that it's really great to have you in team because you are very responsible, because you are very creative, because you are detail oriented, because you are a strategic thinker, whatsoever, right? Whatever you are, whatever you sell, then they will have this, oh, that's great. I want to have him on my team. And then when I have an opening, I will think about you. Or probably I will create an opening for you because I want you so much, because I see your soft skills mainly, and I'm sure that you can do the job done. I will come to you with that question.
Very nice. And you mentioned that different businesses, different targets. When we have different targets, different business outcome is different. So how we can manage this diversified portfolio in one LinkedIn profile or something? How we can manage it? Because in the profile, if you have some diversified things, some specific things are relevant to one target audience or one business outcome. So how to manage this complex situation?
You you need to make a decision. You cannot target everything at once, because if you target everything at once, you are no one's darling, right? Like you are everything for everyone. It doesn't happen.
Hmm.
Think about that as a doctor. Like, if you are sick, you're not just going to a doctor, right? You're going to a very specific doctor. Like, if you need a surgery, you're going to a surgeon. You're not going to a dentist. Even potentially, the dentist can help you, right? If you're on the plane and here's a dentist, potentially he will help you because he has most knowledge than ever. But if you think about that, you want to have that specialist who has experience in curing your disease, right? So you're looking for that precise experiences. And it's the same with your positioning. What kind of problems do I solve? See, when you speak about that, that kind of people will come to you. And if you want to solve different problems, most probably you won't attract anyone, because everybody will think, well, he is something else, right? He doesn't have that much experience. Probably there is someone who is better in that field. See, when we speak about your career progression in general, the most important question to answer is, what do I want to be? And when we say, this stupid question which is labeled on interviews, like, how do you see yourself in 5 years? It is probably a tricky question during an interview, but it's one of the most important questions that you can answer in your life in general, for yourself, not for an HR professional. Because when you're saying, okay, in 5 years, I see myself as a self-employed mm, career strategist, it will be one path. If you're saying, well, in 5 years, I see myself as a person working for a corporate world in a big company, it will be a completely different way. And the different ways bring different decisions, different skills I need to develop, different visibility I need to build. And if I try to do both, most probably I will fail in both scenarios, because I'm doing something which can potentially work. We don't know, but most of the times it's not working out, and you will get your burnout, and you will think about, oh my goodness, I'm doing everything wrong. Um, the decisions you make, again, it's not something set in stone that you can't change that, but it's more like a direction, right? Why am I doing that? And I do believe that if you have one big goal, or a direction where you're going, it's much easier to come there rather than saying yes. Whatever works out first, I will do it. Because if you work in that second scenario, it's very reactive. It's something happens to you and you react and you say, okay, if you want to hire me, then hire me, but actually you don't know who is hiring you. When you're saying, well, I'm not going to be in the corporate world any longer because that's my conscious decision. Um, then you're building your self-employed career or you're building your company. But it is definitely impossible to build your company in a self-employed career and a career at a high level in the corporate world all at once. It's it's so many different things to be done, and the more different focus you have, the less productive you are. And moreover, you probably have not only career, probably have you also family and hobbies and sport and whatever, right? So you need your focus on different things anyways. So yeah, my first, like, if there's anything you take out of this conversation, it's this: take about what you want to be in your 5 to 10 years and what kind of steps you need to do to achieve that goal.
Nice, that's nice. And you also have coached top leaders. What are the habits that separate strong leaders from the rest?
Mm, I think doing what you have decided to do. I think we are all very smart and we can explain to ourselves so many things. And the difference, what I see from highly effective people, is that when they have decided something, they execute it. And if they don't execute it, then they probably go and say, okay, it's not my priority, I'm going somewhere else. But being honest, um, because probably the challenge what I also see in my clients is that a lot of people want to live different lives at the same time. And then they take so much pressure on themselves that it's literally impossible to have it for a long time. And for example, I have seen people who are actually super successful, but they are trying to do, music career and corporate career and being a super sportsman at the same time. And then at one particular point, they burned out because it's like too much. And then they say, but you know what? It was so cool. And I built my timetable and I have like every single minute everywhere. But we're not robots. And we need some time to reflect. We need some time to relax. We need some time to recharge our batteries. And yeah, so if you decide something, then go for it. But don't put too much weight on yourself. Don't decide that one day, today I will run my marathon and I will learn a new language and I will build a new career and build a house and write my book and all at the same time. Because yes, probably today you're super motivated, but tomorrow probably you're sick, and inevitably you will lose your rhythm. So it's much probably wiser, what I have seen, when people say, okay, my goal for this year is this, and then they go for it, and when they achieve it, they can have a second goal, and obviously you have some sub goals as well, right? So it's not like you're only working 24/7, but yeah, that you're committed to your own decisions.
Very nice. And for the people, for the audience who want to learn different languages, you are expert in five languages. First of all, let us know what those language you speak other than German and English, and also how the peoples can learn different languages.
Well, my native is Russian. I speak English, German, Italian, Chinese, and now I've studied French. um I think learning language is it's kind of a habit, right? So language is a system. So you need to learn at the same time speaking, writing, listening, and reading. And in my personal experience, it is impossible to do with, I don't know, Duolingo app, right? Because Duolingo is just learning new words, more or less. But if you are committed again to learning and you have your 1 to 2 times a week with learning a language, you will inevitably progress. If you want to progress faster, deep dive in the language, right? So, for example, if you're in Germany and you inevitably will speak German in many cases, so try to make the environment of the language, right? To read, to listen to the language and try to find something which is interesting for you in that language, and to do not expect so much. Again, from my experience, people have language barrier very often because they expect them to speak perfectly in the foreign language straight away. And they, like what I've seen a lot, people, for example, they speak English better than German as a foreign language, right? And then they come to this business environment and they know that they will speak English more professionally, probably with less accent, probably with better vocabulary. And then straight away they close the German language because it's on the beginning. And here it's super important that you push yourself to speak, even if it's with mistakes, even if it's like not that perfect, but with the time it will be better. And like one trick that works for me all the time, a little bit crazy but still works, that you start talking to yourself in the language you're learning, right? So if you're alone or in a car, like put your earplugs in and like discuss what you see, right? For example, right now I'm sitting in a conversation and I'm talking to Habib about the things, and like try to explain that. Or like I'm cooking, I'm taking a pan and like, pouring the oil into it. And obviously, when you start speaking, like speaking it loud, you won't have a lot of words for the first time. But either you can look for that words and vocabulary and then use them and try them again and again, or you will try to explain that in simpler phrases, right? Like if you don't know a word, a pan, you will say probably a pot for frying, whatever, right? But you will find this solution. And that's what we try to do with language in general, to bring from your passive to your active, right? To help yourself to use that word more actively. And if you are afraid that somebody will judge you and say that you are not that good, speaking to yourself um, is a great source, because you're not going to judge yourself harshly. And the same, if it's a professional language already, read something and try to recite what you have read, right? So for example, you have an article about your professional topic, read it and try to recite what you have learned there. Again, you don't know some words, look at them again, right? So what you have just read, try to probably write about that like an article or an essay. If you're learning the language, don't use ChatGPT for that purpose, right? Or like write in ChatGPT and say, hey, show me the mistakes, right? Explain why these are the mistakes. And ChatGPT will give you as a private tutor all the things. Or if it's grammar, again, ChatGPT will help you, like give me 20 exercises for learning whatever it is, right? So, and you don't even need a textbook for that at the moment, but you need to understand how the system works.
Nice, nice. And as a marathon runner, how do you maintain energy and clarity in both life and leadership? You also have the family and marathon runner as well.
Um, yeah, I really think I'm coming constantly to this one thing. It's like, what do you want from yourself in your life? How do you imagine your perfect life? And when you know what you want and you know your values, then I think it's pretty easy to make decisions, because values is kind of a compass um, where you're going. For example, I have 3 kids, and it is important for me to be with my family. So one of the decisions that I make in my life, that I cannot work 8 hours a day, right? I have 3 kids. The little one will be two soon, like next week, and it's my conscious choice. But at the same time, I don't want to be full-time mom just staying with my kids, because I think it's too much for me. So I'm choosing to run my career as I want to do it. And despite the challenges, I know what I want to have, right? I know this perfect picture, but perfect not in terms of, I'm sitting in this house near the ocean and like everything's so beautiful, but in terms of how my daily life looks like, my real daily life, not in this perfect world.
Mm.
And when I have it, every time when I have a challenge and I'm not sure about how it's going to be, I'm coming back to this picture and to this value and asking myself if this is what I want, if this is something I want, I'm willing to sacrifice, right? Or if there is something I'm willing to do differently. And this constant um, coming back to your a regional plan helps me. And for example, with a marathon, you need to find time to train. So I put the time on my timetable, right? So it's my calendar, and I do the training. But at the same time, I understand that if something is coming in between, for example, I don't know, my kid is sick, right? Or I have something like important meeting. I'm not just saying, okay, I'm not going to run, but I'm thinking how I can tweak it and twist my calendar later on, that I will have all the priorities inside. But I don't have 1,000 priorities. I have like three. And working on three priorities is pretty, it's possible, right? It's impossible to work on 10 of them, but if you know where you're going, then it also will be easier to know what kind of priorities you have at the moment.
Nice. Virginia, before ending this session, last advice or the comments you want to share with the audience, please.
um Dare to try whatever you can imagine is possible to do. So don't let anyone tell you it is impossible. um Look for opportunities, but um, be realistic in terms of what is your next step in what you're doing. So if you dream of whatever it is possible. Just probably bring it in smaller steps to start with and go for it. And I really believe that the only limit we have is what we think about ourselves. So think bigger and trust yourself more.
Very good, very good. Thank you very much for this sharing, for generously sharing, you can say, your knowledge, your personal journey, and everything, and detailed answer of every question. Very nice. And just in the end, just one word to the audience, but in different languages. You already have different languages. So just to end this session, just a letter of thanks to you and also to the audience, and from you to audience, just one word but in different languages, so that we can know Italian, English, Spanish.
I haven't expected that. Ähm, ja, vielen Dank für die Aufmerksamkeit. War super schön, hier mit euch zu sprechen. Und dann ich wünsche euch, dass die Träume wahr werden. Merci. Ähm,
Yeah, that's nice.